I'm going to be talking about fossil fuels as a limited resource and other alternative energy sources to fossil fuels. In the other groups, you already heard about coal, natural gas, and oil, why they are used and their functions. So fossil fuels are formed over hundreds of millions of years and are composed of decomposed organic matter. Certain conditions create different types of fossil fuels. If you can imagine this layer of decomposed organic matter, it's a layer of dead plants and animals that form the current layer of sediment. Intense pressure, high heat, and hundreds of millions of years are the conditions that create fossil fuels. Coal is created when this layer of decomposed organic matter is put under intense pressure. Oil is formed when there's intense pressure and high heat. And natural gas is formed when there's even higher heat and more intense pressure than when there is for oil. The first vocabulary word is renewable resource. It is a substance that can be replenished just as fast as it's being drawn out. That means that at the rate it is being used, it is also being replenished or remade at the same rate. Fossil fuels are considered non-renewable because they cannot be replenished in a human lifetime. And for this reason, they are considered a limited resource. This means that we use them at such a fast rate that they are disappearing faster than they can be replenished or remade in the ground. If you think about it, this means we will eventually run out of fossil fuels. Energy efficiency is the next word, and it's the corresponding amount of energy produced by a given amount of fuel. This means how much energy produced when a fuel is used. For example, you might have 1 gram of fuel A, and you burn it, and then you burn a gram of fuel B, and fuel B produces 50 times as much energy as fuel A did. This is because it has a different energy efficiency. All fuel sources have different energy efficiencies and produce different amount of energy given the amount of fuel. How much fossil fuels do we really use in the U.S.? Well, we use an equivalent of 11 billion tons of oil in fossil fuels per year. We use 40 billion tons of oil every year. And by 2088, we are expected to run out of most fossil fuels, which is really in most of our lifetimes. A clean energy source is an energy that does not pollute the atmosphere when used. Based on prior knowledge, it's easy to infer that fossil fuels are not clean energy sources because they pollute the atmosphere by releasing CO2 when used. An example of a clean energy source is solar, wind, biomass, which is wood or paper that you burn, energy harvested from waves, from tides, and turbines in the water. Also, there's geothermal, which is harvested from steam inside the earth. We know we have all these alternative energy sources at our disposal. Wind, solar, biomass, and geothermal are all renewable resources, which means we can replenish them just as fast as we use them. You might be thinking, why don't we use these alternative energy sources? Because they're clean and renewable. The reason is because they're not as efficient as fossil fuels. Fossil fuels yield a high amount of energy efficiency, while these alternative energy sources yield a low energy efficiency. At the world's current demand for energy, these alternative sources for energy would not be able to meet the demand per year of energy required by people on Earth. It is likely that we will continue to use fossil fuels until they have all run out, since they are cheap, efficient, and accessible.